say this without hurting anybody's feelings, but it just does. I just don't give what y'all say that much merit. You know, it just doesn't. You know, I'm not going to put a Jim Mora on you and say the famous, you know, you think you know, but you just don't know and you never will. Although it's a great line. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm not saying that. I'll say it at some point before I stop playing.
I think he is too. I love me some number 18. Denver improved to a perfect 7-0 after beating the Packers 29-10. They now join the Patriots and Bengals as the only 7-0 teams left in the NFL, with 4 weeks to go until the highly anticipated game in Mile High. The Patriots are outscoring the Broncos by over 11 points a game, but the Broncos defense is giving up 3 fewer points per game, so we'll see what we'll give. Stephen A., who's the best team in the AFC right now, the Patriots or the Broncos?
Well, before I answer that question, I'd like to say this about that video that we just showed for Peyton Manning. If you want to insult the media, I can't think of a classier way to do it. Okay.
Well, he did it without doing it.
Well, he did it without doing it. It was very, very classy. The only thing that I would like to add to him is that when he says you think you do know, but you don't know and you never will, that's absolutely true, but primarily because number one, you guys would never tell us. And number two, even if we did know, you wouldn't admit it. So I just want to point that out in terms of people that watch football and watch what they do and what have you. They go through extraordinary measures to make sure we don't know. Even when we do know, they don't admit it. So let's not leave that out.
May I add this on what you just said?
Yes.
Sometimes they don't know.
That's right.
Sometimes they don't.
Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't. Now to answer the question about the Patriots and the Broncos.
Yes.
It depends on when you're talking about. If you're talking about the Patriots in this season, then it's the Patriots. If you're talking about what we saw last night, then it's a different ball game. Because if Denver's offense can do half of what it did against Green Bay last night, against anybody else, they'll be better than anybody else because of the way that defense is playing. But the question is, can you do that? Can you do that just against anybody else? I don't know that you can. I don't know if Ronnie Hillman and C.J. Anderson can run the football the way that they did last night, continuously, week after week after week. I don't know if the deep pass connection between Peyton Manning and Demaryius Thomas is something that can continue. I do believe that pass rush will still be there. I do believe that secondary in Denver will still be there. I do believe that that defense will remain elite all season long. But the question is whether or not you're going to be better than the Patriots. Because you see, one of the things that's going unnoticed, the Patriots, numbers-wise anyway, doesn't have a defense that is as effective as Denver's. But the Patriots' defense is not shabby with Nikovich and those boys. They know what they're doing. They're their 9th-ranked defense in the entire NFL. They rank 7th against the pass. I think like 7th against the rush, rather, like 15th against the pass. They sort of get it done. They find a way to beat you. And what they also do is this. With New England's offense being as prolific as it is, it applies pressure to an opposing offense to be more efficient because you don't want to give Tom Brady and those boys the ball too often. So as a result, defenses try to get into a situation where they're doing things they're not accustomed to doing. Like we've talked and debated about how somehow, some way, these guys, the things that they do conventionally, they don't exercise against Bill Belichick. And we wonder why. Well, here's the reason why. They're trying anything against Bill Belichick because you don't want to go up against Tom Brady in that offense as much as you normally would have to. So you're doing anything that you can to try and put up as many points on the board as you possibly can because you know Tom Brady and them are going to get their shot. In the end, I would give New England a slight edge because what we saw from Denver, we just saw last night. What we've been seeing from New England, we've been seeing all season long. I would give them the edge over Denver right now. But that doesn't mean I'm going to give them that edge November 29th when they meet.
So you ready to plunge on it?
What you mean?
You're ready to go out on that limb and say that Denver will win.
Well, we talked about.
I know.
I don't know
said
why
it.
I don't know why you keep asking.
But then I heard you on SportsCenter yesterday, and you were kind of vacillating.
Well, they didn't ask me about that. They didn't ask me about the Patriots compared to the Broncos.
But you were
talking about a different subject. Well, I was defending them because a lot of people sit there and lambaste them. I try to be fair. You understand? I try to be fair. I don't get emotional like you. I try to be fair. And I'm just saying,
I try to have convictions.
You try to have convictions even when your opinion should be convicted. You still try to have conviction. All I'm trying to say to you is, well, it depends on which one we're talking about here. I'm just saying to you that the New England Patriots right now have shown a level of continuity via Tom Brady than the Broncos have via Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning still has 11 interceptions and just 7 touchdowns. Peyton Manning's only completing 62% of his passes. Peyton Manning hasn't been the Peyton Manning of old for a myriad of reasons, and we understand that. But we also know that prior to last night, what we were seeing from Denver's offense wasn't going to be enough to beat New England. I just believe that there are games where you show up in a particular season. And I think when New England goes to Denver, more so than if New England had to go to Foxborough, I think New England would show up. Denver to Foxborough. I think Denver would show up for that game.
Okay, allow me to put in perspective what is about to happen. Last night, we saw Green Bay's offensive line have a lot of trouble.
Yes.
They gave Aaron a little time here and there, but a lot of times they just caved on both sides. But I'm here to tell you that Green Bay's offensive line is 20 times more experienced than New England's offensive line is. That makeshift, inexperienced with the rookie free agent center for New England. Green Bay's offensive line, I would give a much higher grade overall than New England's. I think Green Bay's defense is, despite what you saw last night, it's still a little better than New England's defense. I think it is. Now, again, they lost a couple of corners last night. They lost a little depth at corner. Sam Shields out. So I get that. But my point is, just on paper, they came into the game allowing the fewest points in the NFL. And yet, I'm ready to plunge. November 29th, that's a Sunday night, if memory serves, at Mile High. I say that Tom Brady will beat the Denver Broncos because Tom Brady, I'm here to tell you again, is playing at the highest level any quarterback in the history of this game has ever played at, starting with last year's Super Bowl all the way through last Thursday night's Miami devastation. Tom Brady, as I keep pointing out, is on a mission to deflate every opponent, to get even with Roger Goodell by getting even with the National Football League. He is trying to flatten every opponent, to devastate, annihilate, to leave them on the canvas groping for a clue of how to get back up off the canvas. And we saw what he did to Buffalo at Buffalo early. They still haven't quite gotten back up off the canvas. We saw what he did to the Jets 2 weeks ago, right? And what did the Jets do at the Raiders? We're going to talk about it here in just a little bit. They just couldn't get up off the canvas yet because Brady annihilated their psyches because they couldn't stop him. Both those teams thought they had a really good defense going into the Brady game, and then they're saying, we're not all that because he exposed us and picked us to pieces. And I'm not saying he will pick Denver's defense to pieces, not in a place that Tom Brady has not played all that well, except for one game against Tim Tebow when Psycho Tom came out and they destroyed Tim Tebow's Broncos. Remember that one?
That wasn't hard. Who could forget? It wasn't that hard. But
all right. So my point is, because Brady is on such a mission, I believe he will inspire his team to beat Peyton's team on that night. They're just playing at such a high level. They make plays, and when he starts making plays, the defense starts responding to him. So loved what I saw last night. I can't make any case on paper for Brady winning on November 29th after what we saw happen to Green Bay's very experienced offensive line. But watch what happens. I think this team is on a 16-0 mission that very well could lead to 19-0.
I just think you're looking at last night at Denver, and I think that, you know, you make a case for Green Bay in their defense to elevate Denver's offense, and I'm just of the mindset, look, prior to last night's game against Denver, they played San Francisco, St. Louis, and San Diego. Now, we've seen some flashes from St. Louis because Gurley is the real deal. No question about it. And I'm a Tavon Austin fan. No question about it. So we look at it from that perspective, and we know what St. Louis's front seven is like. So it is what it is. But San Francisco, can it get any awful? I mean, listen, we don't even have time to get in the Kaepernick today. Good Lord of mercy, what's going on in San Francisco there. And, of course, the San Diego Chargers have been a huge disappointment. But this Green Bay Packers defense does rank 7th overall, but it does rank 17th against the pass. It does rank 26th against the rush. It is 23rd in yards allowed.
When you say 7th overall, you're talking about yards allowed.
That's
not
right.
Points allowed.
Well, it says points allowed, not yards allowed.
Okay, after last night. But before last night, they went in number 1.
But I'm just looking at them, and I'm just saying to myself, I just look at Green Bay, and I'm not sold. I am sold on Denver's defense. I am sold on what that defense can do. I'm just telling you. I look at their secondary right now. I mean, it's hard to get open against these dudes. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens, and it's going to tell me a lot about Denver and that defense because more so, it's not even about who wins or loses the game to me. It's how I see Denver's defense look against Tom Brady. That's going to tell me a lot about how legitimate their title aspirations are because there is no question in anybody's mind that if you want to get to the Super Bowl out of the AFC, you are going to have to go through Tom Brady and the New England Patriots to get there. So that defense, to me, it's going to tell me something about what they're able to do against New England.
I will give you this. This Denver defense is way, way, way better than the one that faced Russell Wilson and got annihilated in the Super Bowl 2 Super Bowls.
That's right.
Right?
That is correct.
But if they can run the ball and Peyton plays like he did last night, they might have a shot at mile high.
I'm just, again...
I still think that, I still think Brady has
true.
the edge.
But that defense needs to show up against Tom Brady.
Brady's 11-5 in matchups against Peyton Manning. Moving on.